Hey, what's up? My name's Samuel Leeds. I'm a property investor, and if you want to invest in property, if you want to make money in property, then really you need to be subscribed to this YouTube channel because I'm talking regularly about mistakes that I've made, mistakes other people have made. And listen, you can either learn from other people's mistakes or you can learn from your own mistakes. And why would anybody in their right mind learn from their own mistakes when you can learn from somebody else's? So the very first question that comes up, Perry talks about how he had 10 HMOs that he'd built up in 12 months and lost everything. That's crazy. Now asking a question. So you can now learn from Perry's mistakes. Damn, I can learn from Perry's mistakes. So I'm going to go through right now and I'm going to be answering people's questions. We've got a guy here who's saying that he's got a speech impediment and he's struggling to speak to agents on the phone. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking your problems, your challenges, your issues, and I want to be sharing about how you can be helped, giving you advice, and trying my best to see you win. The purpose of this whole YouTube channel is that you can win as a property investor because, you know what? I didn't want to work in a 9-to-5 job until I was 67 and then have a shitty little pension. And honestly, you know what? The normal status quo of what people believe about money, go to university, get a job, buy a house to live in, pay down the mortgage, it's nonsense. So this is a little bit, the way that I teach is a little bit different, but I'm very wealthy. I've made millions of pounds in property and now I'm going to be helping you with your property journeys as well. If you enjoy my channel, smash the like button. That's the very first thing you need to do. Go hit like and let's get right down to this. So we're going to start with Perry. Perry says, I had 10 HMOs in 12 months. Hooray! And during COVID, but my lifetime friend, who is no longer a friend, pushed me out of the company when I traveled to Thailand during the pandemic to get married. Lesson learned. Never trust anyone in business until you sign a contract. Which I foolishly didn't do because he was my friend. Please, everyone, sign contracts. I'm now back to square one. I'm currently studying YouTube until I earn enough money to start again. Perry, first, man, I want to say my heart breaks for you. I'm so sorry that you basically got robbed and stolen. I've seen this happen time and time again where people build a company and they don't bother to structure it properly, don't have contracts. Maybe it was better to be in his name because for whatever reason, or he just put the company in his name and said, yeah, we're doing it together. And you just, oh, it's fine. And then you got screwed. So I think the lesson is, yeah, number one is always have a contract. Number two is understand the law. I'm studying law right now, online. I'm doing online courses and I'm studying and learning law, contract law, corporate law, commercial law, property law. Not because I want to be a lawyer, but because it's so important to understand how to read contracts. So my heart breaks for you, and I'm sure, as annoying as it was, I'm sure that you will take that lesson. I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of pounds that might have cost you. It's heartbreaking, but go and be a stronger, richer, wiser property investor as a result. If there's anything I can do to help, then let me know. And hope to see you rebuild better and stronger with better foundations. And screw that guy, So let that be a lesson to everybody else. I always say if you're going to hit the rocks, at least be a lighthouse to other people. So. Rough start. See what else we've got going on. Time lapses in London. Wondering if you have any suggestions or tips that I could use to help as I struggle when talking to agents. I have aphasia, which is a speech and language disability. Talking to many people, agents, builders, etc. is going to be the main issue for me. Is there a way to work alongside other people who are already in the area and help them look after other properties instead? Any other suggestions would be greatly appreciated if you have worked or assisted with other people with similar disabilities. You know what? Everybody has strengths and everybody has weaknesses. And the first thing is you need to be aware of your strengths and weaknesses. So I don't know if you've heard of the SWOT analysis, SWOT. You can all do this now if you're watching this video. So write down strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And your strengths are what have you got going for you? So maybe you've got a bit of money, maybe you've got a bit of knowledge, maybe you know how to find good deals, maybe your strength is you are really good at talking to people. So write down all your strengths and be aware of your strengths. And then the W's, weaknesses. What are your weaknesses? It's good to be aware of your weaknesses. One of the reasons people fail is because they're actually overconfident and they're not aware of their weaknesses. So your weakness is you've got a A speech impediment. And then opportunities. What are the opportunities on the horizon? The deals, the things, the ways to make money. The opportunities ahead of you. And then threats. What are the threats that could stop you succeeding in your business? You know, maybe the threat could be your own mindset. Maybe the threat could be lack of funds. Maybe the threat could be competitors. You go into auction, keep getting outbid. So you need to be aware of this. So the first thing I want to say to you is at least you're aware of your weakness. If you've got a weakness like you have and like everybody has, then what's the solution? Well, you either get better at that area and you become better at it, or if you can't, maybe you've got an actual disability, you're never going to be able to be a great communicator. I mean, you can write well. But then you want to team up with somebody, hire somebody, get someone in your team, whether they be an employee or whether they be if you can't afford an employee, maybe you just want to partner up with somebody and fill those gaps. So that's my best advice to you. I would just hire someone that's a really good speaker on the phone, communicator, and they don't have to be smart. You can tell them what to do, what you want to say, and then let them just go and do the thing. Same as me, there's certain areas where I'm quite weak. I'm very weak on admin. So my paperwork, organisation, I'm rubbish. So when I started out in business, the very first person I hired was an admin assistant that could help me keep track of all the paperwork, file everything for me. So I hope that helps. And can you win, even with the speech impediment? Absolutely, yes you can. I just ran a training program a couple of weeks ago, and there was 2 kids on the front row. Okay, one's 16, one's 18. They're blind, can't see, but they were still finding deals, making money in property.
End value is 110 on a 75% mortgage. You're going to pull out 82,500.
So you're going to buy for 70. You pull out all your money and £7,000.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, good. Good man. Good man. All right. So crazy. All right, Razvan Gabriel. What are some of the risks of being over leveraged? What would happen if the value of the house drops below the mortgage? Will the bank come and take the house, force you to sell so they can cover their mortgage? Razvan, no, not unless your mortgage term finishes and you need to pay back the lender and you can't. But generally speaking, if you're in negative equity, I wouldn't worry about it too much. And let me put some context in this first. So let's say you buy a house for £200,000 and you get a mortgage for £150,000 and you've got £50,000 equity in the house. That's your deposit. That's your skin in the game. If the value of the house drops to £125,000, that means you're in negative equity, right? The value of the house is lesser than the mortgage. Now, as long as your mortgage term doesn't suddenly end and you have to pay back the mortgage, because that would be a problem. But I mean, generally speaking, when you take a mortgage on, you might take a 25-year loan. You're not going to take a mortgage on on a 2-year term. You might fix the rates for 2 years, but so if it drops and you're in negative equity, does it really matter? You might feel that it matters, but why did you buy the property for in the first place? I know why I buy properties as an investor. I buy properties to rent them out to live off the rent. Income. That doesn't change. The income doesn't change. If you've got a property and I've had this. I bought some houses in Birmingham around about 2009, and then the market dropped, and I didn't have much equity in the houses. It was a bit of a problem, but I thought actually I'm renting these houses out on a room by room basis, making £1,000 a month profit. Who cares that it's dropped in value? And I just sat on it, enjoyed the rent, waited for it to bounce back up. So unless your mortgage term is about to end, they're not going to call in the loan. Why would they want to call in the loan? If you're in negative equity, all you need to think is this: when you buy a house, what's the cash flow? The value is going to go up and down, but it doesn't actually matter. The value goes up and you make a load of money, you refinance or sell. But as long as it's paying you cash flow, it doesn't matter. It will bounce back up eventually. That's my general thoughts. Scott says, I currently work in a reasonably well-paid job. I'm wanting to start off my property investing adventure, like that, as a side venture. An adventure as a side venture until I can afford to be financially free. Other than coming to your training, which I'm booked in March, well done, what's the best to get the ball rolling? Okay, Scott, I would probably say to get the ball rolling, you want to have 5 friends that are winning in property. So find a new circle, man. If you're in a circle, if your friends and buddies are in property, you'll be in property. If your friends are financially free, you'll be financially free. If your friends are all just your current employees working for 30, 35 grand a year, and that's what they do, then you'll probably do the same thing. So I'd start going networking. I'd be on social media, connecting with people, having coffees, going out for drinks with people that are winning in property. And then if you do that, that's a good start to get the ball rolling. You come into March on the training, respect, and be ready to take loads of action and take some risk. You know, because people don't want to take any risk at all. But it's like, well, if you don't take any risk, all you want is security, then you'll have security, but then you're not going to have the upside of the adventure and the fun and the money that comes with being an entrepreneur. So be ready to take some risks. All right, Sam Biggerstaff. Just finished your deal selling course, really enjoyed it, well done. I've quit my job now, well done. Going full-time property, well done. Starting to co-deal source with a few people. One person wants me to find a few rent-to-rents for him. How much should I charge for these sorts of deals? All right, I'm gonna give you the short answer and I'm gonna give you the long answer. The short answer is about 3 grand. May as well stop watching the video now, you got your answer. Longer answer is, if you're selling rent-to-rents, it really depends on the profit on the rent-to-rent and also how much they're having to put down anyway for things like refurb, deposit. With a rent-to-rent deal, the person that's investing in the rent-to-rent should be getting a 100% return on their investment within the first 12 months. So if the cash flow is £1,000 a month profit and there's no deposit and there's no refurb and it's just literally a month's rent up front, then you could probably charge £5 grand or £6 grand for the finder's fee. If the profit is £500 a month and they're already going to have to put down £6 grand on deposit and refurb, then that's going to take them a year to get their money back anyway. So really, that you're not going to have to charge them anything for that kind of deal. So it depends on the profitability of the deal. Be careful packaging and selling rent-to-rents though, because some people see rent-to-rents as like a magic passive income where they won't need to do anything. They can just float in the ocean and get their nice rent coming in from a rent-to-rent that was sourced by somebody. But realistically, we know that a rent-to-rent is a business. So if you've got a rent-to-rent, it's a business, right? You need to systemize it, you need to take care of it, you need to run it as a business. Not to say you need to be in the business, but you need to be on the business and on top of things. So if you're selling a rent-to-rent, make sure you're selling it to someone that understands it's a business and they're going to have to run that business and they know how to do that. But otherwise, you have people paying you £3 grand and then 6 months later, they're like, oh, I'm not making much money on my rent-to-rent. And it's because you ran it wrong. Because it's a business. You need to understand how to run it. Fahim Hassan. Love your content, thank you. Would like to ask, what are the most effective ways to locate owners of a derelict property? Derelict properties, I would probably say if you want to do derelict properties direct to vendor, drive around, man. Drive around and look out for rundown properties. You can tell they're rundown because they're boarded up or they're just overgrown. You can't see them because there's bushes and stuff, and you can just tell it's derelict, it's abandoned. And then you want to take a picture of it, write down the address, and then when you get home, you want to go to Land Registry and you want to search the address. You pay £3 and that will give you the title deeds to who owns the property. You'll have their name and all their details. Search for them on LinkedIn and Facebook. Track them down and say, hey, your house is just derelict, man. It's just empty. I'd like to buy it. What can we do? I'd like to take control of it. What can we do? Have a conversation. See what happens. Peace out.